Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this session on geological and geophysical characterization. I know we are in the last session and probably standing between you and the shuttle back, but it's a very interesting session. The session is focused on one core idea that subsurface understanding is no longer technical, it's strategic in nature. And this session, if you look at across India energy systems, we are working with three major themes. We have mature basins and aging field, which is true for both oil and gas fields. We have complex reservoir and challenging geology. On top of that, we have increasing pressure to sustain production, increase the output of the gas, unlock stranded resources, and maximize recovery. Geological and geophysical characterization today directly provides production and performance, resource monetization, asset life extension, investment confidence, and energy security. What makes this session practically valuable is that it's not just theoretical, it's practical and applied. We have stalwarts from the industry who will bring their presentations onto the practical applications, what they have seen. You will see advanced subsurface understanding combined with engineering innovation and integrated workflows. How it is delivering real operational and commercial outcomes, from CBM and basin modeling to heavy oil optimization, gas monetization, and mature field rejuvenation. Together, these presentations demonstrate how subsurface intelligence is becoming a core capability for upstream area to build India's energy future. It is enabling the assets to move from decline to resilience and from complexity to opportunity. With that, I would like to invite our first speaker, Mr. Sameer Bakshi, Manager Reservoir ONGC, to present his paper. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. So, I'll be giving a presentation on efficient CBM extraction through continuous gas lift for CBM. So, CBM is stored in coal seams through adsorption, and they are extracted by reducing the pressure, so that the pressure reduces to reservoir desorption pressure. Generally, we carry out dewatering through PCPs and SRPs to reduce this pressure, and the gas in our system, it flows through the annulus and the water flows through the tubing. In fact, CBMs are not only the reservoir rocks, they are also the source rock of methane. So they are really vast source because it's the home of the hydrocarbon. The importance, they have a vast importance because, and it's already been proven, as we can see that it has been given a credentials of a clean fuel in the upcoming future, and Australia, it produces 38 BCM, and USA in its peak, after which the shale revolution diminished its importance, it was producing around 50 BCM. This is like 50% of India's annual need. China at present is the leader, and they are producing 15 BCM in 2025, and they are increasing this in the deeper reservoirs. Basically, in India, we have almost 50% of gas dependency. So, what we have is a distinct geological and reservoir conditions in Bokaro. So, we have challenging and favorable geology, the thick coal seams with high gas content and at a saturation pressure, and presence of major and minor faults in the basin. They not only give us a favorable outcome, but also leads to challenging geology. The high CDP, which is warranted for a CBM operator, but it leads to unstable desorption dynamics, creates early gas liberations, which leads to collapse of water permeability. Since these reservoirs are low permeability, we have to go with hydrofracturing operations, and due to our operations, these fractures struggle to connect and stay open. Moreover, to increase the efficiency and operability of every single well, they are produced in commingled form, where multiple seams with varying pressures and CDP are pressures present. So, based on these unique reservoir characteristics and the land acquisition challenges, we had developed cluster well system, where more than one wells have been developed in a single location. So, why the conventional artificial lift faces any challenges. The complex stress and anisotropy, this leads to not only hydrofracturing problems, but leads to poor placement and screen outs. In the commingled sim production, we, due to the unequal sim pressures, thief zone and cross flow and turbulence, we face another kind of problem. Whereas low permeability and hydrophobic coals leads to steep pressure funnels and propellant crushing and gas banking. So this is the example of one of our CBM wells in performance. The first graph, which is the blue one, it represents the water production per day. The second graph, it represents gas production per day. The third graph is the torque. And the fourth graph, the blue line represents the liquid level. And those orange dots, they represent workover frequency. So if you see, most of the, in our case, with conventional artificial lifts, we are experiencing very high drawdown of more than 40 to 80%. This leads to erratic water peaks and gas peaks, which leads to unstable dewatering and gas banking, which in turn leads to frequent workovers, failures linked to gas locking, sand ingress, and other issues. So in fact, this leads to artificial lift breakdown. So what we did was, we proposed an innovative solution and we actually implemented this in Bokaro. In this, what we did, since we have a cluster well, so we have high critical desorption pressures, so our gas break occurs at a very high pressure. So what we did was, we channelized that gas from one of the wells into the annulus of another well, which actually created a localized gas cap in the another well, creating a U-tube, and we ensured that this U-tube doesn't have a gas cut. This leads to a flow through the flow of the water through the tubing. Sorry. Through this, we have almost dewatered more than 70,000 meter cube of water, 30 mmSCMD of gas, with a very low workover frequency, almost to nil and zero. So this is the basic working mechanism. So the compressed gas is injected in the annulus and it leads to production through our tubing. The right hand graph shows that we are able to produce at a very low drawdown pressure. And since no injected gas is lost, it compresses on descent and expands on ascent, creating a continuous pressure lift loop. When the gas break happens, the gas injection creates a positive annular pressure, which forces all the gas and liquid fluids produced from the reservoir to flow into the tubing. This actually reduces the liquid head in the tubing and allows the reservoir fluids to flow freely through the tubing, giving us a very high production rate. So this is how we implemented in our in Bokaro. One of the wells which was completed with SRP BKED was connected. Its annulus was connected with the annulus of another cluster well BKZD, where the tubing shoe was kept at 400 meter. We didn't had any pump in this well, and due to the injection, that brown is the gas cap. And that actually pushes things in the U-tube, which produces our reservoir fluids. Since you can notice we don't have any movable thing here. So this is the performance during single phase production. If you can see, there's a just 10 psi difference in the, as compared to in conventional we were dealing with 40 to 80 kg KSC of delta P drawdown, but here we are just having 10 psi pressure difference, and that too we are producing around 100 meter cube. There we were producing 30 meter cube per day. We were able to produce 100 meter cube per day in this well. Similarly, if we see the FBHP versus long shut-in, these data are through the PLT logs, right? So again we see the static liquid as 199 meters, and our tubing shoe was at 400 meters. There was no gas cut from annulus to the tubing, so no gas was lost. So this is the reservoir performance. The blue line represents, there is some issue with the graph. So the blue line represents the water production, which you can see is almost 70 to 80 meter cube per day. And the bottom hole pressure, it was almost constant. And so when the BHP is constant, the pressure funnel is constant. So it's basically gradual, and this leads to consistent drainage radius expansion and very high and improved CBM recovery. This is again the reservoir performance of the well. The right graph shows the IPR versus the cumulative dewatering. We can see very high IPR of around 20 for this wells. And the left graph shows the ecometer level, which we recorded for more than 1 month, which shows a stable ecometer level in our well bore. This is the performance during co-production phase. So we are able to produce around 15,000 meter cube of gas and 50 meter cube of water. By the way, this is very high for CBM wells, which are known for their low efficiency. So, and that too at a very low drawdown of 74 psi. So next we will be dealing with some of the case studies which we found in Bokaro. So this was the well BKAC. As you can see, the red line shows before implementation and after implementation stage. Before implementation, we were not able to even run the pump, and we required 3 workovers, and the overall dewatering was less than 1000 meter cube. There was no gas break. Once we completed this well through continuous gas lift in May 2023, we have reached consistently production of more than 40,000 SCMD, peaking at 75,000. This is, by the way, one of the highest CBM productions for a vertical well completed similarly across the world. No CBM well has been seen to produce more than 50,000 per day. And without rig intervention, we have been able to dewater more than 4,000 meter cube of water. This is quite a success. So this is another well, BKCE, which from this we have dewatering rate increased from 20 to 40 meter cube, while gas production peaked at 55,000 meter cube, which is 9 times as we had planned. So initially we needed 5 workover to dewater less than 1500 meter cube of water. Post implementation, 7,000 meter cube of water has been dewatered without any rig intervention. Another well where the production from the dewatering rate increased from 30 meter cube to 100 meter cube, and gas production, which was, we didn't had any gas production earlier, it increased to 30,000 meter cube, which is 60 times as envisaged in the year in our planning. And if you can see this graph, 7 workovers were needed to dewater 5,000 meter cube, and since this implementation we have dewatered around 7,000 meter cube without any rig intervention. Another case study, the water production increased from 30 meter cube to 100 meter cube, and gas production peaked at 50,000 meter cube, which is 10 times as we had planned. This was quite a success. It was actually our first well, and it needed 20 workovers to produce cumulatively 2 MMSCMD of gas. And now since implementation, it has, without any workover, it has produced 5 SCMD of gas. If you notice, this well has been producing from 2006, and because of this, some issues, we were not able to produce it.
We just have 2 minutes left.
So other examples, in BKEI, we have reached 15,000 of gas. BKEF, we have reached in 20,000 meter cube. In BKEA, we have reached 5,000. It's initial data. And in Jharia, one of the wells we have tried through air compressor, where we have dewatered more than 3,000 meter cube of water from this well. So in fact, now we will be discussing on the benefits. So more than 70,000 meter cube of gas, water has been produced, and more than 30 MMSCMD of gas has been produced. This is without any use of any power. So we have saved more than 1 lakh MMBTU of scope 1 emissions, direct emissions. reduction in work over and operational cost. Since no moving parts are there, or rotating downhole equipment, so we face minimal or no workovers. In fact, we don't have any planned workovers. Sustained dewatering, which prevents re-imbibition into the coal matrix, keeps stable pressure drawdown and boosts production beyond FDP. And optimal reservoir management. So we can lower reservoir monitoring tools for this purpose. These are the examples. If you can see these figures, in the first, before and after, in the blue, the blue column represents water. So more than 4 sims were producing water, and only 1 sim was producing gas. After we had taken this into the gas lift and we optimized it, all the 5 sims were producing gas, and the productivity has improved a lot.
Excuse me, if you
So
can wrap this up quickly.
just a minute. So another one is where we had done for superposition, where before implementation and after implementation. Before implementation, the production of the cluster was 5,000 SCMD and less than 30 meter cube of water was there. After implementation, we reached around 40,000 SCMD of gas from the cluster and around 100 meter cube of water production. So the way forward is, at present we are dealing it on a localized scale, well to well scale. The way forward is to have an integrated system where we can have a compressor station and a simple gas line as in conventional, so that high influx wells can be on a continuous gas lift and low influx wells can be on intermittent gas lifts. So in conclusion, it's a well scale and field scale impact. It revolutionizes CBM production, and as I have already noted, we have achieved highest CBM production from a vertical hydrofractured well. Economical and environmental benefits. It has huge implication in saving our scope 1 and scope 2 emissions, lowers field development cost, and higher CBM recovery factor in shorter time. It gives scope for technical optimizations with higher FBHP, ensures uniform pressure decline, reduce propellant crush and propellant crush into the wellbore. Also, we can have data-driven optimization of production from all coal seams. So this is a new benchmark for CBM production, and hopefully we will see this in future, changing the landscape of energy transformation in India. Thank you.
Thank you, Satish. Thank you, Satish, for a very interesting and insightful presentation. Next, I want to invite Dr. Satish Kumar, DGM Geology, Oil India Limited.
Respected Chair, and good evening all. My presentation on igneous intrusions, which is the influence of the thermal maturity. When you previous talk on the CBM, it's quietly opposite. We are talking about the maturity and generation point of view. So I will start with, normally, traditionally, petrol system modeler, they are thinking about the burial history and proportional to the maturity level increases. That is the traditional thinking process as a modeler or a geoscientist. But here we are discussing about what are the influence of the igneous, if it is happen within the source rock intervals, which can be effect on the maturity or not. So that is my focus area for the presentation. And so this is my discussion point on the first. We can discuss about the study area. What is follow that we can discuss about the igneous provenance and impact on this maturity point of view, and we talk about the regional stratigraphy and petrol system elements and processes, and we discuss what are the evidence which is available with the well information in Mahanadi basin, and what are the material which is support to understand the maturity. That will be discussed in the materials and methods. Then we can discuss on the maturity profile without inclusions or without inclusions effect on this. And finally, conclusion and future work plan. So when you see this, Mahanadi Basin is east coast of marginal field and passive margin section, and we consider it a category 2 basin. At present, discovery not discovery is there, but no production or implementation till now, because that's the main priority to understand what are the basin is giving the opportunity to work on that. And when you see this geologically, it's a very prone area for the source rock as per the evidences, the global analogies. So that what are the Cretaceous could be major source rock intervals could be possible within this late Cretaceous time. And when you talk about the structural configuration, mostly northeast and southwestern configuration, which is give the most off-graben structures, which is give the more prospective for the to see the prospectivity's point of view. Here, I want to emphasize on the effectiveness of the volcanic episodes. It's we can see this more or less both. It's having a lot of volcanic activity in the eastern and eastern part. But my focus is only in the eastern part, which is especially in Kargoli Rajmal basalts, which is happened in the during of the 180 million years, and the forming of the 85 ridge east, which may continue from the 85 ridge east of these, that could be extension to the Bengal basins. And here is one of the right hand side. These are two models. One is in two models which is showing that one is the plume evaluation that could be as a volcanics could be injected to the directly to the surface. Other one is this magnetic supply through the magnetic conduit of the Korgoli horseshoe. So both the models which is considered during our the analysis part, so that will be very helpful to understand in details. So here, if the volcanism is present, what are the scenarios which we account? In the left hand side, this scenario, so scenario 1 is a normal burial history, which is having of the normal reservoir and having of the maturity profile, then there is no issue with the migration and entrapment mechanism. When scenario 2, when you come to the intrusion is taken place within this basin, so that will be more actively and they can create the compartmentalization. So this is may happening, may affect on the migrations. So maybe we can look into the below trap as a reservoir. Maybe we can, is the chance with the above the trap we can go the reservoirs. So that is the scenario 2 will be effective, and scenario 3, it's we can see that is a shadow zones which created shadow zones from the basalt intrusions or igneous intrusions. So here is a right hand side I given the two example, especially on these maturity can affect. See the based on the well logs of well information. You see this one wild dog one exploratory well which is drilled in Western Australia. So here is the profile, maturity profile is abruptly increases where this igneous is intruded. So it means that what are the intrusion is taken place of this stratigraphy that could be put in the hike of the maturity level. Other example from this well number 154 that is in Rockwell Throw. So that is also having giving this shadow, this is the whatever we can highlighted areas, the maturity is increasing. So what are the temperature is increases. So based on this consideration, come to the our Mahanadi Basin. Here is when you see the stratigraphy, we are having from the Cretaceous, from the rift margin facing, and which is taken place majorly rift to drift sedimentation unconformity is taken place. Then after that is a post rift sag marginal phase. So here is when you see the redded circle, the red square box, which is a volcanic episodes, which is evidence from the well, and green is available source rock within the Cretaceous as well as the Miocene and the Pliocene systems. When you come to the petroleum systems, here is neogen biogene system is known, and we are established that one. And Paleogene Neogene petrol system still in hypothetical conditions. Some wells is showing is the mixed biogenic and thermogenic sources, but this is still is hypothetical. Other is the most focus at present. We as a oil Indian as working on this Mahanadi, we are looking to the Cretaceous is the major source rock interval. That could be chance to open up the new discovery in Mahanadi. That is the Cretaceous to Cretaceous and Paleogene to petroleum system. But this still in a speculative petroleum system. So apart from that, Mahanadi Basin, we have the 16 gas discoveries, mainly is in Miocene age and 7 in Paleocene age. So come to the depositional sequences, mostly we expected in the Cenozoic passive margin section and Miocene to recent dominantly sediment from the Bengal Basin section. So here is late Cretaceous upliftment is the more controlling of the sediment pack which is available. Okay. When you see this igneous spatial distribution, the reded circles in the left-hand side map, having of the different flows. Red was big red was is the 3 flows, other one is 2, and the other one is the 1. Different flows is available. When you see the cross correlation with the well information, and we can see this extension of the igneous and the timing of the 148 to 115 million years is episode is taken place. It's a different age and different pin. Apart from that, what are the wells indication like a M2, M3, M4, M6, MD3, which is showing hydrocarbon in the, above the igneous. That is a very interesting zone to understand further investigation. Here we have taken the one geological section from the which is covered from the Cuttack depression to the northern depression, which is onshore to the offshore, which is all elements and grabens is captured. It's around 160 kilometer of section, and for that we required the different organic petrography and like a petrography analysis, correlation, and some of the ABO analysis is taken place to understand the increased igneous effectiveness. This is a source rock profile of the area, which is of the evidence, which means that mostly is the type 2 and type 2 corrosion, which is happening in the Cretaceous. And when you come to the shallow offshore, this type 2 and dominantly some of the bare into the type 2 corrosion matter is available. So this is a maturity model, and I am little bit go fast because of the time is going to close. And this is the normal thermal maturity, which is show this. There is no transformation ratio at all in the entire 6 frequencies, in the even onshore, even in the offshore area. But when you come to the intrusion effects, these are intrusion effects is taken majorly. We can see that when the western side, eastern side, sorry, in the western part, in the onshore area, we have the 3 episode of the igneous intrusions, which is mostly effect on the thermal maturity. When you see the burial history, this is normal, it's into the wet gas window, but when you come to the shallow depth, this maturity profile is affected the below and above the periphery of the igneous. So that will be very interesting zones to demarcate it, and we need to understand these particular source rock intervals so that we can capture the reservoirs in this way. When you come to this transformation ratio, it's a good transformation taken place in the model prediction at this around 80%. And this is my conclusions, especially these igneous intrusions very effective to understand the reservoir as well as the source rock potential in this Mahanadi Basin. If further investigation to do this, these integration should be incorporated into the models, because we have a lot of evidences like basalts and dolerites availability. So that is will be very, we have to see these intrusions most thoroughly. Apart from that, what my suggestion is that magmatic gas system can be possible or not. So because these are intrusions may taken place of the magmatic gas system may place in the Mahanadi and adjacent of the KG basin also. That also we have to look into these in these particular basins. And while doing the interpretation part, the intrusions should be captured and model it, so the uncertainty will be reduced in our Mahanadi Basin. That's the things. I conclude my things. Thank you.
Thank you, Satish Kumarji, for making the presentation in time and talking about geological methods of Mahanadi Basin. Now, next I will invite Mr. Banibrata Majumdar, Manager Reservoir, Oil and Natural Gas Corporation.
Very good afternoon to all of you. I am Banibrata Majumdar, a reservoir engineer currently working with ONGC for last 13 years. And my today's topic of presentation is production enhancement through rigless water shutoff and nitrogen squeezing in heavy oil fields of India. Basically, heavy oil fields means the heavier portion like Santhal, Balol, Lanwa and Bechaji field. These are my contents of presentation. First, I will brief about the introduction part of these heavy oil fields and their production performance since inception. Then what exploitation strategies we have adopted, and what challenges we are facing on day-to-day basis, and what necessary precautions or necessary actions we have taken for mid-course corrections. Then rigless water shutoff jobs, what is its pre-job requirements, and what are the candidates we have selected based on which criteria. Then post-job evaluations, and finally conclusions part. Mehsana asset is the highest oil producing onshore asset of ONGC, and it contributes around 1/3 of total oil production of total onshore oil production of ONGC. In this figure, you can see the dark green portion is our heavy oil belt, and the light green fields are our light oil fields. And the fields, the Mehsana asset is currently producing at 83% water cut. So basically, it's a mature field, and this asset has a unique characteristics that we have both light as well as heavy crude with viscosity ranges from 0.5 centipoise to 1500 centipoise, and its API is from 42 to 13, means lightest crude to heaviest crude. Currently, in all those heavy oil fields, in situ combustion is going on, which is the world's largest in situ combustion project, and we are leading in EOR front. We are currently doing thermal EOR like in situ combustion and CS cyclic steam stimulations, as well as chemical EOR like polymer flooding and surfactant polymer flooding in light oil fields as well as in heavy oil fields. So basically, in a nutshell, you can say the Mehsana asset is a EOR hub of India. These are the production performance of field A, basically a production performance of Santhal field. The field is currently producing around 1100 metric tons of oils per day with 86% water cut, and currently we are injecting around 12 lakh meter cube of air, and at the same time we are producing around 9 lakhs meter cube of flue gases from those oil producers. These are the production performance of field B. The field is producing around 180 to 200 TPD oils, tons per day oils, and we are injecting around 3.5 lakhs air and producing around 3 lakh meter cube of flue gases through 180 oil producers. And these are my production performance of Lanwa field. In this field, both in situ combustion as well as cyclic steam stimulation is currently going on, and CSS is currently on in pilot stage. The field is currently producing around 330 TPD of oil, and we are injecting around 1 lakh meter cube of air through 10 air injectors. So in Mehsana, we in total reserves we have 70% of the reservoir that are in active water drive, and remaining 30%, and in which hardly 6% are on depletion drive. So in active water drive reservoirs, we are facing viscous fingering mainly on heavy oil fields and water coning in light oil fields. So in order to cater those viscous fingering, that is basically because of the mobility contrast between the heaviest oil as well as water. So we carried out water shut-off jobs through polymer as well as nitrogen squeezing. Our fields in Mehsana, they are they are dipping reservoirs and their deep is 3 to 5 degree. So whatever flue gases we are producing, that moves in up deep directions. So, and all the reservoirs in Mehsana are hydrodynamically connected, and all the wells, around 1000 wells, all are completed with SRPs or PCPs. So intervention of bottom hole temperature and pressure is very difficult. And because of, I have already discussed, because of mobility contrast, we have viscous fingering issue. For those, we used to carry out water shut-off jobs, and from EOR point of view, gas shut-offs also being carried out, as well as to carried out walkover jobs in this heavy oil field is also a very difficult issue. So we carried out water shut-offs through rig as well as rigless. But here I will discuss only on the rigless part because it is less cost effective as well as it takes less time. So what we did, as all our wells are completed with SRPs, so we inject or we pump polymer through annulus into the reservoir, and the polymer goes to the reservoir through GP itself, because our sands are unconsolidated, so all the wells are completed with gravel pack. So we inject polymer through annulus directly to the reservoir. It's basically called a bullet water shut-off job, for which we inject polymer along with cross-linker. We have two type of formulations. One is our in-house acid formulations and another one is our IRS formulations. Only difference is that the cross-linker part. In acid formulations, we use inorganic cross-linkers. The inorganic cross-linkers, which create a gels that settles within 4 days. That means we open the well after injecting the polymer and close for 4 days, then we open the well at less SPM. But for IRS formulations, it takes around 7 days. Basically, it creates a delayed gel formation, and we open the well for after 7 days. So before doing this job, we need to select the candidate oils, and the testing of that candidate oils is very much required. So to compare before and after job comparison, so first we test those wells, then we carried out injectivity of that particular wells, and minimum injectivity we required for injecting polymer in a particular oil is 250 LPM at 1000 psi. If the injectivity is less than that, we carried out mild acid jobs, maybe 1 time or 2 times also. And the equipment we required, 1 pumping unit, 1 blending unit, and tanks, and all the tanks should have agitator mounted. Now for candidate selection parts, the rightmost part is my viscosity map, and this is my structure is like this, and this is the down deep part, and compared to the flatter part, so we select only those candidate oils where mobility contrast, means viscosity variation between oil and water is very high. So we select candidate oils in the down deep part for Santhal area, and for Balol area, means for field B in the northern part of the Balol, where viscosity is around 1500 centipoise. So this is one criteria. Along with that, we also see that there is some ISC effect or not, means in situ combustion effect or not. If the oil have in situ combustion effect, then that is well and good. If we don't have that effect, then the job volume will increase. So here in this case study, we have considered 15 horizontal wells which were flowing more than 95% water cut, and all the wells are in down deep portions, and the wells having ISC effect also. So these are the pre and post job evaluations. The blue part is my before job productivity of that particular wells, and the green part, the green is my after job productivity. So only in 3 wells we didn't get any changes before and after jobs. Well number 5, well number 8, and well number 11. Apart from that, all the 10 wells have given my incremental oils. So the success ratio in that case is around 75%. And our per job cost means it's basically, it doesn't require any rig. It basically, we moving the unit to the particular well, we directly inject the polymer and close the wells for certain days, and we opening the wells. So it hardly cost around 7 lakhs, including polymer as well as manpower cost and the injecting and pumping cost. So if my incremental oil gain is 2 to 3 TPD, we usually get around 2 to 3 TPD incremental gain. So my break even is around only 15 days. If the oil flows for 10 to 15 days, my initial investment money will return back. And the second one is nitrogen squeezing. The nitrogen squeezing, we call it a nitrogen squeezing water shutoff, but it's basically a huff and puff method. In that case, what we did, we select wells which are way above OWC, and those wells which have certain potential, means which are flowing at certain rate, means at least it has 0.5 to 1 TPD of flowing rate. In those wells, we are injecting nitrogen for continue for 5 days, and the volume is based on our reservoir condition. It's varies from 30 to 60 kiloliter, and nitrogen basically alters the wettability of that reservoir, and it changes the relative permeability of oil, and it converts oil weight reservoirs to water weight reservoirs. So mobility of oil increases with respect to the water. So in that case, we inject nitrogen for 30 to 60 kiloliter. We close the wells for 7 to 15 days, and then we open the well with less SPM and minimum liquid withdrawal. Means if we withdraw at a very fast rate, then there will be a chance of water channeling very fast in that particular well. So we withdraw liquid at very slow rate. Basically, we decreasing the water cut. At the same time, we decreasing liquid also.
Can you please wrap in 2 minutes?
This is my well selection criteria. I have already discussed that part. The well should be in the range of 80 to 90% water cut, and it should be way above the OWC. These are the results of before and after jobs performance. In field C, we have carried out this job in 16 wells. We have decreased our water cut. Earlier it was around 85 to 80%, and we have decreased it to 60%. And these are the performance, week-wise performance. After 5 weeks, the water cut again gone up to the initial stage. So it's a repetitive job. You require this job in every 3 to 4 months, and the job cost is also very less. Hardly the 5 lakhs is job cost. So if your well flows for 2 to 3 months, it's very good, and we get more than 10 times return in that particular wells. And 4 wells in field A, same observations have been same observation. We have observed in both the cases water cut has been gone below, and oil production has also been increased, and it sustained for 2 to 3 months. So at last, the rigless water shut off through nitrogen or polymer, it's a very cost effective and very low risk technique, and it reduces water cut from 95% to 50% in case of polymer as well as nitrogen. And these jobs are executed in situ combustion field like Santhal, Balol and Lanwa, where your mobility contrast is very high. In that field, we have got the highest success as compared to our light oil fields. And currently, we are also carrying out these jobs in our wells which are which are away from our in situ combustion area, and we are also getting some good response. Thank you. Thank you very much. That's
Thank you.
from my side.
Thank you. Following that, I would like to invite Mr. Aditya Hegde, founder, PolaireTech India.
Thank you, sir. So I'll be talking about monetization of natural gas resources using our modular zero refrigerant technology. So I'm from PolaireTech India, which is a subsidiary of PolaireTech International, which is a Canadian-based company. Just a step back, what is LNG? So LNG is nothing but natural gas, which is cryogenically cooled to minus 162 degrees Celsius. So by doing this, we reduce the volume by 600 times, so it's easy to transport. As you can see, one LNG tanker equivalent to 6 cascade trucks. So now India is moving from an initial development of adoption of natural gas to a full stream adoption of natural gas. That's why we need LNG for transportation to reduce the number of vehicles on our road. Also, LNG is a desired fuel for trucks given the density compared to diesel. So why do we need LNG? So one, your well is not connected to the pipelines. Two, you need fuels. We currently depend for imports for all of our LNG needs. So as a country, we need to have a method to fuel our trucks when they move to LNG. Third, you want to have an alternative to gas pipelines. Your pipelines may be at capacity, or you want to store the gas and sell it when the prices are more suitable to you. So as you can see, that's the basic LNG flow sheet. You get the gas and you clean it, liquefy it, and store it and transport it. So what we do is we have a method called zero refrigerant liquefaction. So conventionally, they use nitrogen or a mixed refrigerant to cool the incoming gas. But in our case, we use the natural gas itself to cool the incoming gas. And currently, we have two plant sizes, a P5 and a P60. That is 15 tons per day and 160 tons per day. You can see the flow scheme is quite simple. The feed gas comes in at around 42 bar, 45 degrees Celsius, goes into the cold box. A stream is taken out from the cold box, which expands. While the natural gas expands, it cools, and the cooled energy is used to cool the remaining part of the gas, which is flashed to a JT wall and a final vessel flash. And the gas which has not been liquefied is recirculated back, and by compressing it using a recycle compressor, also recovering the expander's energy to recompressing it to 42.5 bar, and is recirculated back. And there's a single vent, as you can see. By doing this, we are achieving a methane efficiency of around 92%. And compared to other competitors, we have the lowest equipment count. As you can see, there are just 3 major equipments, that is the recycle compressor, the compander, and the cold box. And our technology has been third-party validated as technology readiness level 8, and has been proven to be the most simple and a robust small-scale liquefaction solution. And all of this is modularized in a 40-foot container, so these will be shop fabricated in India and exported directly to your site, and they are plug and play, so you can start with a P5 and add a P60 or another P5 to meet your gas demand. And also they're relocatable. In case your feed gas goes down, you can relocate these plants to a new area. So basically, we can take any form of natural gas, that is biogas, CBM, well gas, and even pipelines, liquefy it at lower CO2, lower capex, opex, and we don't use any refrigerants, so there is no storage of flammable refrigerants. And since we are an Indian company, the detail engineering, almost 80% of the components are sourced locally. And being an Indian company, you'll be getting better customer and after-sales support. This is our team. Our process team is based out of South Africa. That's why most of them are ex-Sasol. And our modularization team is based out of Canada. So ex-Floor and ex-Worley. Also, Indian team, we have myself, Shal, and AK sir, who's ex-Gale. So this is how a P5 module would look like. The liquefaction module is a 40-foot container, so easily be transported to your site and relocated. This is how the layout would look like in case of Indian context, since we need an on-site storage for storing the LNG. Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you for a very quick presentation. We finally have Mr. Ramiz Israel, Senior Geologist, BP Exploration. Mr. Ramiz.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. So, thank you for the introduction. My name is Ramiz Israel. I'm a geologist with BP. I'm part of the BP ONGC Mumbai High TSP, based in Mumbai, in India. And today I'm here to show you the story of how a refreshed geologic description of the Mumbai High field and also an integrated platform we built to integrate the dynamic with the static data to unlock the future of this iconic field. I'm truly honored to be here to talk about the Mumbai High field. So thank you for the opportunity to do this. And also thank you to all my co-authors, both from the BP and ONGC sides of the Mumbai High team. So quickly walk you through the agenda. So we're going to talk about Mumbai High itself. We're going to talk a bit about why Mumbai High field is where it is and why it's a giant field. So getting behind the why of Mumbai High. And then the guts of the story will be around some of the new insights we've been uncovering in the L3 reservoir and the basic classic reservoirs of the Mumbai High field. And we'll talk a bit about the integrated toolkit that we've developed to integrate the geology with the production data. And then we'll close looking at the next steps and the future of Mumbai High. Anyway, so we'll start the journey discussing the why of Mumbai High. And I think it's always important as geoscientists to kind of understand why things are where they are in geology. And certainly with giant oil fields, important to understand why we have a giant oil field sitting in the Western Offshore Basin. So the story of Mumbai High goes all the way back to the Precambrian with the development of the Indian Shield going back 2.5 billion years ago. So these are some of the oldest rocks in the planet that make up these Archean terrains. And this forms the crystalline basement of Mumbai High. Next in the story of Mumbai High is the assemblage of Gondwana. And the map at the bottom left of the screen shows the assemblage of Gondwana, also in the Precambrian. And this is made possible by the collision of these great continents in the early days of the planet. And key to us in the Western Offshore, you'll see the red lines describing the Dharwar trend. And this is the north-northwest structural trend started by the suturing of West India and the African and Madagascar plates in the assemblage of Gondwana. This will be an important lineament, still persistent today in the field's life. So that's the assemblage of Gondwana. And what happens next is the breakup and the rifting events. So the breakup of Gondwana starts at about 150 million years, and there are subsequent rifting events, which culminate with the separation of Seychelles and India at about 66 million years. And this is associated with the Deccan Reunion mantle plume and the vast fat basalts associated with that. And what I'll say is the important thing to think about during the rifting and the breakup of East Gondwana and the subsequent rifting events. The old Dharwar trend, those flows were reutilized in rifting. So the formation of the horst and graben structures that formed with rifting, they follow the trend of the Dharwar trend. So what was a result of the rifting phase is a series of north-northwest trending horst and graben structures. And this essentially was the birth of the Mumbai High structure. It's a large, broad, north-northwest trending horst structure in the Western Offshore Basin. So that's the formation of the Mumbai High structure. And then what happens next is the beginning of the deposition of the sediments. So the Paleocene, we have the spaceclastics coming off with the basement highs, as well as at the same time coeval deposition of our source rocks of the Pana Formation, filling in the lows of the basin at the time. Now, in the Paleocene, a lot of things are happening around the Indian plate. Three key things to remember. So now we are into the post-rift sequence. So you have the subsidence associated with the post rift, which subsides the entire platform. So now it's a sort of marine environment of shallow water. The other thing that happens is the shutdown of the clastic supply in the western offshore. And this is a result of the reorientation of the drainage on the Indian plate to a west to east orientation that happens around this time. And the third thing is the northern movement of the Indian plate as it collides with Asia pushes the Indian plate into warmer waters. So you have the three conditions which are prime for carbonate factory development. And this is exactly what happens next in the Eocene and into the Miocene. You have these carbonate reservoirs being developed on the platform of the western offshore basin. And certainly the fluctuations in the sea level result in leaching and important secondary porosity development, particularly L3 reservoir, which is proven to be a world-class carbonate reservoir. And the last key event, I guess, occurs with the Himalayan uplift and the collision of India, the Indian plate with Asia. And that last bit of uplift tectonics in the hinterland drives further subsidence in the western offshore, and that pushes the Pana source rock into the kitchen. So here you have the makings of a giant field. You have the rifted terrain, which creates the big broad horse structure of Mumbai High. You have world-class reservoirs being deposited to the conditions I described, and at the same time you have a world-class source rock that's being matured, and you have all of this capped by the shale deposition, which are the ingredients that came together to form this giant oil field. So here we are today. The picture on the top left is one of the early tankers exporting oil from some of the first barrels from Mumbai High. And then the journey takes us to the map in the middle of the screen, which is a bubble map showing the cumulative oil production in the green dots and the water injection in the blue in Mumbai High. And the picture speaks for itself. You can see the vast amount of wells that have been drilled, both injection and production, over the last 50 years of Mumbai High. We're talking about 1,700 wells, over 1,700 wells, I should say, over the prolific life of this giant field. The lifeblood of Mumbai High has been the L3 reservoir, which I just mentioned, which accounts for about 90% of the cume production to date. And more recently, ONGC have been getting after the basic classic reservoirs. And during my talk today, we're gonna focus on both the L3 and getting after the unswept oil of the L3 and building on the success of the basic plastic development. And I'm going to show you some the insights from the new data that we've gotten on how we're driving these two key reservoirs forward in the life of Mumbai High field. Okay, so the story begins, I think, Mumbai High for me is just beginning a new era, and that's the era of OBN. And big kudos to ONGC, the leadership and the technical team for having the foresight and vision to acquire new OBN data, even in a mature asset like Mumbai High. And certainly the ONGC and BP members of the TSP will surely benefit, and the field will benefit from this decision made many years ago. So massive kudos for them for doing that. Certainly in BP, in our own assets, we have seen how transformative OBN data can be, from early life appraisal all the way to mature fields. We've seen the benefits of OBN data. And certainly in the talk today, I'm going to show some of the early insights that we are pulling out from the early products of the OBN acquisition. So this slide just kind of a quick snapshot of what was done in terms of the acquisition and what we're seeing so far from a comparison of the old to the new. So just to kind of spell out what ONGC have done. So they've shot 1,800 square kilometers of new OBN data over Mumbai High field, done over 2 surveys in 2022, 2024. The processing is still ongoing, and however, the early products from this data is already beginning to reveal new geological details and new insights into Mumbai High. I'm not going to read the acquisition details in the box to the bottom left, but I will kind of point out a couple things on the seismic section. So the section to the left is our legacy towards streamer. Section to the right, the new OBN. And you can see the some of the enhancements in the shallow overburden in the middle section of the L3, and certainly in the deep section of the basement. So we're going to jump into the insights. Kind of running short on time. Started a couple of minutes late. We're going to start with the L3, again the lifeblood of Mumbai High. And just a quick one on toolkit. So one of the things we've deployed coming into the TSP are some of our automated workflows for interpretation using PaleoScan as well as spectral decomposition. We think this is a great way of pulling out the data-driven interpretation, and the SPECD, of course, for pulling out some of these detailed geomorphology in the seismic data. So the map in the center of the screen, if I can draw your attention to that map, is one of the new spectral decomposition maps of the L3 reservoir. Near to the base of the L3. And the map to the right is just the same map, but the edges, a cartoon drawing of the same edges you see on the SPECD image. Now, what jumped out to us, and certainly what kind of jumps out to me, is the observation of these channel features that are running across the L3. And what we observe is a sort of braided, low sinuosity channel belt with braid bars running across the Mumbai High field. You see it running east to west in the north and the center, and then running sort of north-south as you come to the south of the field. And these are, I think, a new observation from Mumbai High, and certainly one that is, in the previous data set were not clearly observed. And what we're finding is, even though some of the edges existed previously, they were interpreted as faults. So this is a new interpretation of the geology of Mumbai High, something very different to what's currently captured. Right now, some of the key implications for these channel belts, we do think one is compartmentalization. We do observe that across these channel belts, we see different oil-water contacts. So there's a key bit there to understand water flood in the field, how we manage water flood, and understanding the barriers and baffles as a result of these channels. And the second thing largely is, there's a lot more heterogeneity to the L3 related to these channels, and a lot more work we need to do to understand their genesis and their characterization. And then the section to the bottom of the screen just shows sort of a seismic line example that runs across the L3 channel. Now, one of the questions we get asked often is how do you get channels in carbonates? So this slide just shows some analogs we pulled from the literature. I'm not going to go into detail on it, but we can have a more detailed chat after regarding some of the analogs. So I want to jump deeper in the section now to the basoclastics, and this one is really interesting. So again, we deployed the same toolkit that we did for the L3. This time we also introduced the mapping of the GDEs, which are gross depositional environment maps, and this is a way of describing the geology, describing the depositional elements of a particular interval. And the image in the middle of the screen just shows some of the inputs that go into a GDE. So core description, outcrop analogs like the one shown. This is an analog from alluvial fan in Egypt. The well log correlations, isopac maps, the SPECDs. These all come together to form an interpretation of the different facies belts in a given interval. What we've learned from the basoclastics from observations, looking at the core, we see a range of non-marine to marginal marine sediments in the core. So that kind of helps bracket your range of depositional environments, and it's a key calibration for us when we build the GDEs. And secondly, the key observation is on the seismic data, and certainly the new seismic data, we can see clear onlap of the basoclastic reflector onto the basement high. And a good example is the image on the right, taken from one of the producing areas, showing a basement structure labeled there with the red arrows, and then draped on the basement structure is the basoclastic reservoir. And you can see the onlap edges onto the basement high. And there's a couple of wells posted on this map. One that's drilled on the basement that didn't find any reservoir. And the second well you can see just drilled just off the basement high into one of these notches that, if you like, just on the onlap edge, which one fantastic reservoir and one of our top producers in the basoclastic. So it's unobvious in the basoclastic, but you find good reservoir and you get a good producer. And the key challenge for us is to reduce our reservoir presence risk going forward. So I'll just skip forward quickly.
You just wrap it in a minute. Can you wrap it in just 1 minute?
I'll jump quickly to an example from, so that was in one of our producing areas. We are trying to push the basoclastic interpretation to new parts of the field that haven't been drilled. And just a quick map to show that we see the same observation in an area that's not drilled in Mumbai High. And you see the same basement high structure, you see the onlap of the basoclastics, and then you see the channel geometries in the basoclastics. And that's in an area that's completely undrilled. So an exciting area for pushing and expanding the basoclastic. So if I ask 1 minute, just to kind of go through the integrated toolkit. So what we try to do is develop something that we can use to integrate all of these new maps from the spectral decomposition, structure, etc., with all of these 1,700 wells and 50 years of production. How do we do that? So we built a dashboard that brings together all of the production data and injection data that's linked to ArcGIS. Enabled us to bring all of the static layers into the same platform. So we can combine and integrate the production data with the geology. And I'll do a quick case study showing the benefits of that. And the maps on the right of the screen show a matrix of 4 different things. The underlying map is the exact same for all. The maps on the left of the screen are both current production, so they show the current production status for both the producers and the injectors. The map on the right shows the cumulative production and injection, so historically what's been produced and injected. The difference now between the top row and the bottom row, the top row shows the entire L3 reservoir. And if you look at the top row, you will be inclined to say that there's good coverage in or depletion of the L3 reservoir. However, if you were to strip out individual sublayers of the L3, like the lower row, you will see there are lots of, where the red arrows are pointing, there are lots of areas in the L3, when you look at a sublayer perspective, that don't have current production, neither historic production. So we are using the toolkit to look for areas that we think have low density offtake historically, and this is how we are targeting new areas of the field. So I'll wrap there. This is just, I'll skip through the slide. A lot more work to do to kind of push the toolkit and the integration, pushing the L3 to be a classic reservoir. And we're really excited about bringing all of these new insights into building the future of Mumbai High with the L3, the basic plastics, and the other reservoirs in the field. The integration as well, we think will help drive better decision making, and we see building out a long-term plan and building a healthy hopper to feed into the Mumbai High field in future. Right. Just thanks to my colleagues from ONGC and management for giving us permission to present some of this data. And I'll leave everyone with a quote in the room from an old BP geologist. He said, "You find oily places," and I think Mumbai High is a great example of that. So thank you very much.
Thanks, audiences and the speakers, for an interactive discussion. Thank you.